friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Lefebvre, and today we're going to be painting a glowing Christmas tree. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, we're back with our day number 2 of card making, and today we're going to be painting a Christmas tree. This is one of my favorite things to paint this time of year, and I do have some important tips for you. So I have done a few tutorials on evergreen trees, and there are some very valuable tips that beginners need to take into consideration when they are painting these types of trees. Now, I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of paper so I can demonstrate. What I tend to see a lot of the time, I was going to do it with a pencil, but let's do it with a brush. What I tend to see a lot of the time with beginners is they'll create the trunk and their branches go out from side to side to side. They might do a couple little leaves or pine needles here and there, but they think of a tree as a 2D object. But in fact, trees are 3D objects that have branches that come out 360 all the way around. So while they're coming out to the side, they also need to come out to the front towards us. And in order to do that, you need to add some strokes coming down in front of the trunk as well. Okay, so I want you to think, here's your trunk. In addition to the ones that come out to the side, they need to come out down in front as well. This will make the tree more dense and make it look a little bit more realistic instead of just having it side to side. Okay, so when we're drawing our tree or painting our tree, you're gonna start with a nice tiny little line like so. And in order to get that really nice fine line, I like to hold my brush in a vertical hold, so just the tip of the bristles are touching the paper. Then I like to start with a tiny little V at the top, and it needs to be small, not something that's big like this, because then we're not going to get that traditional triangular shape for our tree. So let me just draw a guide. Okay, doesn't need to be a perfect triangle, but you still want it to be a triangle. Okay, you're going to have this tiny little V close to the top, and then the branches are slowly going to start to come down. Remember, all the way around to the side, but also to the front, in front of that middle trunk. Okay, so you could do little strokes like so. Another way to do really fun pine needle strokes are to take your brush. You're going to break up the bristles by just dabbing it vertically on your palette or in the paint. You can even break it up on your paper towel. And so it breaks up the bristles so they look all kind of wonky. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to gently flick your brush with those broken up bristles, and you get this beautiful pine needle look to your tree. So it depends on what kind of look you're going for. You can definitely do this. There's so many ways to do it. There's not one right way or a wrong way, but whatever feels more comfortable to you. But just make sure to go all the way around in front as well. Like so. Okay, so now we want to add some decorations, but because we have added our green tree, there are a couple things that you need to consider. If you want to paint something like red or white ornaments on top, layering watercolor on top of a darker color, it's a transparent or translucent medium, right? So it's see-through. So you're going to need some sort of opaque paint. You could use acrylic, you could use gouache, you could use paint markers. That works too. Or if it's still wet, one thing you can try and do is take just a little bit of clean water. And if it's still wet, which it's not, I'm going to do this on the good copy. You can lift little areas. I'm even scrubbing just a little bit with your brush and then dab it so it reveals these little white areas. Then when you place a color on top, it's not too muddled by the green underneath. It also kind of looks like these little ornaments are glowing. Okay, so that is a way that you can do this. So if you want to practice that first before we go into our good copy, you can to start. But now I'm ready. Okay, so let's get some greens ready. I have to remember what I have in this palette. Okay, I think my like neutral green, is that it? Ooh, that's a nice green. There's some nice greens in this palette. I love my olive green, and I think that's what I'm going to start with. Then we can always add in some darker ones later. So I'm going to start by creating my little guide for my trunk, like so. And then with my olive green and a decent amount of water, I'm just going to start doing, I think I'm going to do a bit more of like chunkier branches. And I'm just kind of going back and forth, tapping my brush. These ones are going to, you know what? Let's do some branches that are facing up. Just remember they have to go in front of the trunk as well, not just side to side, okay? In front as well. And I want it to be fairly dense with just like a little bit of white space, okay? And I'm just using the tip of my brush to kind of act as these branches pointing upwards, like so. And I just keep adding more water because I want it to stay wet for as long as possible. If I don't add enough water, it's going to dry really quickly, and then trying to go back in and, you know, add whatever I need to add, lift color, it's going to be a lot more difficult if some parts are dry. So that's why I keep adding so much water. And there's a lot of puddles in here. Like if you look at it, it's very puddly, but for now, that's what I want. We can always lift those puddles up later, but that's just going to help it stay wet a lot longer. And I'm just using the tip of my brush to create these fun branches pointing upward. Remember, make sure it's like a triangle. And then as we go further down, I'm going to start pointing my bristles down. Or not my bristles. Well, yeah, the bristles on my brush. My branches down. Okay. Okay. I think that's a nice full tree, but it has some white space in there. If you want to make it a little bit, you know, bigger, fuller, you can. And I like when it has a little bit more asymmetry to it and it's not completely, you know, symmetrical. You want a triangular-ish shape, but not a complete like triangle. Okay? Okay. Just filling it out on this side a bit more. Okie dokie. Lots of water there. Okay, I'm just going to move the water around a little bit. Just going to tilt it. Like that. Just kind of helps to do that. If you want to break up your bristles and kind of have like little pine needles kind of coming out, you could do that too. Okay. Now before it dries, I want to get in some of that darker green. So I'm just going to tap in. I feel like that's too bright. I'm going to grab some like red to make it a little bit of a darker green. I got to learn this palette. A little bit of olive in there too, just so it makes sense. And I'm just going to tap it in, especially closest to the center. I could paint trees all day. I find them so therapeutic. Okay. A little bit more darker color down there. Okie dokie. Now, I don't want it to be like super wet. I want it to be just a little bit damp. So I'd say like, wait a minute, unless it's starting to dry already on you, wait a second so it dries just a little bit, because you're going to get that kind of repelling effect when it's a little bit more dry and you drop water. I'm really hoping this works out. What I think I'm going to do is grab a Q-tip as well to lift some of the color for some of those bulbs. Okay, so now that it's just a little bit dry, let's test it out. I'm going to take just a little bit of clean water and I'm going to just drop it in a little bit. Just a little bit. Because I want to create this idea like it's glowing. So it repels the watercolor when you drop clean water in spots. You see how it's doing that? Now, usually this happens by mistake, and we don't always want this to happen, but in this case, we want it to happen. So I'm now going to take my Q-tip and I'm just going to lift, just dab, so it's even brighter. I'm going to turn over the other side. See that? And it looks like it's glowing. And I'm just giving a good amount of pressure to lift. Maybe a little bit more there, a little bit more water. I want to do another one right here. And I will say, sometimes this works really well, sometimes it doesn't. It's something you need to play around with, but like when it does work, it's so much fun. So you might just have to keep dabbing to really dry it up. But just be patient, try a couple different things. You might have to grab another Q-tip if it gets like really painted on the bottom. I gotta add a bit more water here to repel it. Like so. And then you're gonna let it dry. Okay, now it's dry. We can, if you'd like, take a little bit more of your green. I'm gonna break up the bristles with my green, and I'm just gonna do just some little bits of texture in between some of the lights. Not too close, because I really want that glowiness to kind of shine through, but just a little bit of texture. And when you're done with the brush and the bristles are still broken up, you're just going to gently rinse it off and then reshape the bristles so they don't stay like that, okay? Just roll it on your paper towel so it's a nice point again, and you're good. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a trunk under here, just so it doesn't look like it's floating in midair. Like that. Grab a little bit more of a darker brown. Just tap it in so it's a little bit darker. Like that. I'm going to wash and dry off my brush, and I'm just gonna gently blend it out just so you get a little bit of a ground there. And now it's up to you what you want to do with this. I kind of like the white glowiness to it. I don't know if I'd want to add color to the bulbs, but because we lifted that color, you could layer over top some red bulbs, whatever you like. I'm going to add a gold star up here. You could add gold on there. Gold might be pretty. I don't know. I'm like scared to try something. Just a little star up here. Maybe a little bit of boops. Might do like a little gold garland on here. Zigzag garland. But really you can decorate it however you'd like. I think I'm gonna take some white. And I'm gonna just do little white circles so it looks like it's like white lights that are really glowing. And see how it just like brightens it up even more? I really like that. And I know it's kind of a bit more on the plain side, but look how it looks like it's lit, like a lit tree with those glows. And then finally, I think I just want to add a quick border because I love to finish any painting with a border of some sort. I'm going to use some red and then we'll be done. And there you go. There is your glowing Christmas tree. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. I'll see you guys for our next tutorial tomorrow. Bye.